Today we take on the most disgusting task of all time, and that's ranking running backs in Dynasty right now. And if you know anything,
you're welcome.
If you know anything about Dynasty in the NFL and the running back landscape, you know that it's a big fat poopy right now.
Yeah.
And so we're asking ourselves when we're doing this, do we just rank all these running backs on contender value at this point? Like, it's so volatile. The value just fluctuates like crazy. No running back has been safe this year from the utter mediocrity around the entire league, including at the top. We're going to start with Bijan Robinson in the S tier. Bijan has, honestly...
Can you even call it an S tier for him with Arthur Smith?
I don't know. Is he in the same
Is
tier
there
as
an
everybody
S
in the A tier? Is there?
I don't know.
Bijan still is the best running back in the NFL, for sure. The most talented, the best, 100%.
Second best.
Who's first?
CMC.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Bijan's the best. Yes. Continue.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, okay. Bijan, 14th in carries this year, 7th in rushing yards, 12th in receptions, and 11th in receiving yards. These numbers could be way higher.
They should be way higher.
They should be way higher.
Thanks, Arthur. Thanks, Artie.
I don't know what we're supposed to do as fantasy or dynasty owners.
Mr. Smith.
But we do know that Bijan has the best draft capital of anybody. We do know that he is the best running back of all of these players. He's younger than almost every single one of them. He's on a team that runs the ball a ton. Problem is, he's just not gotten the opportunity we thought he would.
I don't know why you would give the ball to your best player, especially when you run the ball more than anyone else in the NFL. It's insane, like an insane concept, but it actually might work.
We have to think about it this way. He's still the only running back that's going to go close to the first round.
Oh yeah. He has insane
so
value.
He is in a tier of his own.
Insane value insulation, which is why, again, we were kind of just joking, saying all that tongue in cheek anyways, because he is deserving of being in his own tier at the S tier. But dropping down to the A tier, we kind of already hinted to it, Christian McCaffrey at running back 2. And this is kind of where we get to that point where we're talking about valuing these running backs in Dynasty, like based off of their contending value. And that's why CMC is at the top here.
Because how many points a game does CMC score again? Somebody tell me.
25.
Somebody tell me in the comments, please.
I'm pretty sure it's 25.
He's the running back 1 overall. He's the 3rd overall fantasy asset. How is he not the running back 2? Look at the next 3 years. You don't think Christian McCaffrey is going to be relevant for the next 3 years? I think he will.
Yeah. He's 81 points currently over any other running back, over the next best running back at the RB2.
I don't think there's any argument.
Running back outside of Christian McCaffrey has been absolutely horrible this year. You're not winning any of your fantasy leagues with anyone except Christian McCaffrey and maybe Kyron Williams coming back from injury.
Jonathan Taylor is next on this list, and you're going to say, oh, Colts homers, you guys are biased. Sure, call us Colts homers. I don't care. I love the Colts.
He's like the only running back in the NFL with a contract right now.
He is. He got paid, and he came back this year. He's still been coming off an injury. And other than the first game where he came back and he had like 10 snaps, he's had double-digit fantasy points in the other 6 games he's played this season. His contract extension is pretty much guaranteed to keep him in Indy for the next 2 years at least, with Anthony Richardson, the best dual-threat quarterback in the NFL, or the most dangerous dual-threat quarterback in the NFL, I should say. No, he's not the best yet. Lamar Jackson's still better than Anthony Richardson. But that's a great situation for Jonathan Taylor. You're talking about one of the best running backs in the league with actual contract value. Like, that's not really heard of on this list. In a good situation,
and not splitting carries. Some people will say, well, Zach Moss, he's splitting carries with Zach Moss just like Gibbs is splitting carries with Montgomery.
It's
not a 50-50 split, and you saw that as JT continued to increase his snap share, and they totally phased Zach Moss out of the offense.
See, the difference between those two situations is as Jonathan Taylor came back, Jonathan Taylor started scoring the fantasy points, and Zach Moss wasn't scoring fantasy points all of a sudden. With Gibbs and Montgomery comes back and starts scoring the fantasy points. Yeah. And Gibbs gets 6 points because he gets them to the 2-yard line, and let's go ahead and go to JT. I think people are going to say, yeah, I have JT at 4 or 5. That's fine. We have him at 3. Yeah. He's got contract insulation. That's something to say in these rankings. Yeah. Let's talk about Gibbs, though.
A lot of people wanted to victory lap on us and say, you were so wrong about Gibbs. You overreacted with Gibbs during the Week 6 video that we came out with, because we said sell Gibbs because he's not doing anything and he's not going to do anything consistently with Montgomery there. And honestly, even though it didn't look too great for a few weeks, guess what? It was only a few weeks. And then we came back to earth and he's only scored 6 points the last 2 weeks. And who's been getting the goal line carries? David Montgomery, everyone. It is just like Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, except Gibbs is actually a better running back, which is why we have him ranked in the A tier as the RB4. He's in the same tier as all of these these guys. There's an argument to take Gibbs over CMC and have him at RB2. We completely respect that. But our point still stands. We did not overreact, guys. We did not.
We did not.
Montgomery is absolutely taking away from the upside that Gibbs could have in that offense if they leaned on him.
I mean, this last game was a perfect example. Gibbs gets you to the 2-yard line. The Lions are not a team where it's like, you got us here, you take it home, you get this touchdown. They're like, Gibbs, get the heck out of there, and Monty, you go score this touchdown.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous to me. I think Jahmyr Gibbs should be scoring these touchdowns. I thought it should have been Swift when Swift was getting them to the 1-yard line every week. Every week, I don't know how the dude didn't just leap in the end zone, but he never did. And so, look, is that Jahmyr Gibbs' fault?
No, it's not his fault at all.
Jahmyr Gibbs is maybe this third most talented running back in the entire NFL.
He's like the second most electric running back in the NFL. Like, come on.
And so people are like, yeah, you just hate Jahmyr Gibbs. Like,
no,
you clearly
don't.
haven't watched the show. It is David Montgomery. It's the Lions refusing to change.
Yeah. This could change if Ben Johnson leaves.
You
You think it's Dan Campbell.
I think
you think Dan
Campbell
has his fingerprints on that offense more than I give him credit for, and that'll be something to look at next year. We'll see, which is why we're not totally plummeting Gibbs.
Regardless, Gibbs still in the 8 tier, still the running back 4 in Dynasty.
Yeah, because he's a good running back. And honestly, at the end of the day, we are first and foremost NFL football fans, and all we want to do when we watch the Lions is just watch Jahmyr Gibbs get the ball because he's such a good football player.
Breece Hall is going to be next on this list, and Breece Hall, I'll take the last 2 guys here because you don't want to talk about ETN. Breece Hall is the running back 15 on the Jets. That's it. ETN is 4th in rushing attempts this year. He's 7th in rushing touchdowns. He's 9th in receptions on the season. He's 6th in receiving yards and 10th in rushing yards. There's no way around this because we were lower on ETN in Dynasty and in Fantasy, and ETN has had a fantastic production season. There are still some concerns with ETN that we need to talk about. That's why ETN's not ranked higher on this list. Nathan advocated for him to be ranked a tier lower than this. I put him up here because I do think he deserves credit. If we're really going to talk about the next 3 years and talk about contender value and talk about insulation, I do think he's still got fairly insulated value. He's the running back 3 on the year. I think you have to give him his flowers. I think you have to rank him as a top 6 running back in Dynasty. Yep. Now, the questions that are concerning for us still. Can ETN consistently perform when he does not score touchdowns?
No.
Here are the games where he has no touchdowns this year. 6 points, 17 points, 10 points, 12 points, 6 points, and 8 points. Here are the games where he's scored at least 1 touchdown, whether it's receiving or rushing. 26 points, 22 points, 23 points, 36 points, 21 points. I think there's, and yeah, you're like, yeah, well, duh, he scores more points when he scores touchdowns. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
It's very obvious. It's the difference in points between when he does score and when he doesn't. It's the Christian Watson law, as I like to say. Christian Watson, this is the nice 1.2 point performances he puts up when he doesn't score a touchdown, but then the 20-point performances when he does.
Yeah, and I want to see an entire season of consistency from Travis Etienne. I mean, you even saw from the games that he didn't score a touchdown early in the season, they were a lot better than they have been of recent. And over the last month, his snap share has gone down, his opportunity has gone down, and guess what? I was wrong about his usage. I thought his usage would go way down this season. It actually went up, but his efficiency went way down, and that was another thing that we predicted as well. He went from 5.1 yards per carry in 2022 to 3.7 this year. That is well below average. That is incredibly disappointing, which just shows you, again, he needs those touchdowns to really, really skyrocket his upside and his ceiling. And I personally don't think he has as high of a ceiling as these other running backs in the A tier, which is why he'll be at the tail end of the A tier. But again, you do have to respect the situation that he's in.
All right, let's drop down to the B tier here. We'll start with Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is the running back 3 this year in points per game, and he has the 6th most touches per game. This is just another case of you have a 23-year-old running back, a guy who has proven that he can be a threat in an offense that's not necessarily been fantastic all year, but also get some consistent targets, 5 targets, 6 targets, 10 targets, 7 targets this year. Again, he's scoring at a high level. He's young. In Dynasty, there's enough insulation because he's on his rookie deal. The next 3 years, like, I'm pretty comfortable with Kyren Williams. Putting him here in the B tier, I think this is more than fair. I think he's earned it. Yep. Very comfortable with the production we've seen from Kyren Williams, putting him here, and I think he'll retain some value this season.
And again, remember, just completely throw away draft capital at this point in time with running backs and their value in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Yes, draft capital impacts the long-term value of running backs. Tell me what running backs in the NFL have any long-term value at all.
Bijan. Maybe Gibbs. Some long-term
kind
value.
of, sort of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
and that's
like
about
it.
it. That's about it.
Honestly.
So Kyron Williams, you have to put him here. Like we need to forget draft capital for now.
Yes.
Saquon Barkley is going to be next in this tier, and it sucks he didn't get the long-term contract or the 2 to 3 year extension, whatever. I think he'll get it this next season. Whether if it's not with the Giants, it'll be elsewhere. Regardless, it'll be a better situation than it has been this season. And even though it's been a bad situation, he's still the RB9 in points per game. How much is that saying this season? Not very much, but he has been second in RB touches. His opportunity has not gone down. It's just gone up. And you can't really move Saquon much this season based off of what he's done because, again, running back has been so horrible. And on top of that, Saquon he's been all right.
We're going to put Devon Achane next here because until Devon Achane proves us that he doesn't score 20 points every time he steps on a field, why wouldn't we? A lot of people are going to be like, yo, you should have him ranked in the S tier with Bijan, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. But with Achane, I think it's hard to deny that he's been hyper efficient this year, and he's been hyper productive at times too.
He does win Moocher of the Year, that's for sure. He just totally capitalizes on what everything else goes on there offensively, and they just put him in garbage time when they're kicking butt, and they're like, here, take these couple touchdowns and help all your fantasy teams.
But to Achane's credit, when he's been on the field, he's been super electric. He's looked very good.
Very good.
The vision he showed between the tackles and he's just looked good.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he deserves to be in the B tier here. And he's running back 2 in points per game. He has 9 touchdowns on 69 total touches, is averaging 9.5 yards per carry on this season. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't think it's sustainable, but when it evens out, I think he still deserves to be in the B tier. So.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Josh Jacobs is going to be our next guy here, and he has had 340 carries in 2022 and is on pace for 312 this season. Last year, he had 1,600 yards, and this year he's on pace for a whopping 1,000. Crickets. That's not very good at all. Why do we have Josh Jacobs so high still? It's because McDaniels is no longer there. They're going to have a new head coach. Is Jacobs even going to be on Vegas once they get a new head coach? I don't know, but I know regardless, wherever he ends up, if he stays in Vegas or ends up on a different team, it will be a better situation than the first half of the season with Josh McDaniels, where it just crashed and burned. And when you look at the splits of Josh Jacobs before and after the firing, he has improved. He has gotten a lot better. They've finally gotten the run game to get going a little bit. No, it's not been the same Josh Jacobs that we saw last season. But again, you got to pick and choose your battles here in this landscape. And I think Josh Jacobs has earned maintaining his value at least.
If you would like a team blueprint for your Dynasty team, which is a comprehensive multi-year plan for your Dynasty team, you can find that when you sign up for flockfantasy.com and use code DOMAIN. Use code DOMAIN. You also get access to all of our exclusives. You get access to the Discord, and we get you the team blueprint, and then you get to message back and forth with us pretty much all the time. I mean, it is a really good resource. You get exclusive rankings, articles. You get access to the brand new trade calculator that we just released on Flock Fantasy. So like I said, flockfantasy.com and use code DOMAIN. So flockfantasy.com/domain. Link is in the description. So check out the link in the description. Sign up with code DOMAIN. Get yourself a team blueprint when you choose the Mother Flocker tier today. Let's go to the C tier. Kenneth Walker, when we started this video, was in the middle of the B tier. And then I moved him to the end of the B tier when I was like, yeah, actually, Kenneth Walker's looked really bad.
I can't
and
find it.
And then I moved him to the C tier because Kenneth Walker is, oh my gosh, 15th in running back touches per game, which isn't good enough for a top 12 Dynasty running back.
No,
it's not good enough.
No, it's not.
And that's the Charbonnet effect. He's 18th in points per game. What else is there to be said here, guys? The production.
And he just keeps
the injury.
He keeps getting injured.
Yep. He cannot stay healthy. I mean, that oblique has been really killing him.
It's the same one.
Until Kenneth Walker proves that he's going to be, a top 12 running back from a production standpoint again, why rank him in the top 12 of Dynasty? He's running back 25 on the year.
Yep.
And his snap share in the last 4 games he was healthy, 41%, 49%, 48%, 11%. That was the game he got hurt.
Yeah.
The 2 games before that, 80%, 76%. I don't think they had Charbonnet, though. When Charbonnet plays, Walker has not been producing from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
It's why the Charbonnet selection just killed everything this year. It
did.
Really did.
Until the Niners game yesterday, Swift has had 15 plus touches in every single game this season since he took over in week 2. Remember when everyone for the 5th straight year was sold on Rashad Penny being the lead back in their offense, and we were looking at DeAndre Swift and we were like, no, who is he? I don't know who he is. He's no good. Oh, Guys, he's had a very, very good season behind a very, very good offensive line. We have him in the C tier because honestly, his value is completely 100% tied to the Eagles. If he goes elsewhere, I have no idea what the heck he's going to do because his vision is so bad. His vision is terrible. Like it takes a hole as wide as this table for him to be able to see it and run through. And luckily, that just happens with the Eagles' offensive line every single game. So he's effective. You
could have gone with a lot of different analogies there. That's for sure. That's a good one to pick. I'll give you that.
Yeah, thanks.
Javonte Williams has averaged 17.5 carries per game and 4 targets per game since week 6. The opportunity alone props Javonte up in the C tier. And again, being a C tier running back is not something I think we need to defend because it's not really an honor by any means. So opportunity for Javonte if it continues. I mean, this is definitely something we need to have him here. And then talk about Rachaad White. Honestly, he could be higher on this list.
He could. He's an inefficient runner. We knew that going into this year. We said his value is in the receiving upside, and that has showcased itself for sure. He's been very, very good this season. Running back 5, 7th in carries, only 17th in rushing yards because, again, he's so dang inefficient. But who's been efficient this year at the running back position? He's 3rd in receptions and receiving yards. It's not a great ideal situation in Tampa Bay, so you got to give him his flowers, give him his respect. He has 3rd-round draft capital, so he'll probably maintain his value. How can I even say that? I don't know if he's going to maintain his value.
I don't know if anybody
He's got 3rd-round draft capital. Does that matter? No. He's got good receiving upside. He's a good weapon for anyone wherever he ends up long-term in the NFL.
And then Alvin Kamara. Two words here. Volume and points. That's it. He's the running back 4 on the season. Despite
missing 3 games.
3 games. That's how bad it is. That's how good Kamara's been.
Yeah.
His yards per carry is the 2nd low of his career. Yards per catch is the lowest of his career. So he's becoming less efficient. Probably because he's playing on a Saints offense where they literally don't even have an offensive line or a quarterback.
No.
Like, I mean, it's bad. Yeah. Like, Derek Carr's getting, like, massacred. And Derek Carr also sucks. So there's also that. He has, however, the highest receptions per game of his career, and he's tied for 2nd in touches per game among running backs. Volume and points.
From a points per game perspective, he's 4th in points per game with 21 fantasy points per game this season. That's 3rd best of his career. And everyone thought that he was dead after last season.
Nathan, we have we have 10, 12 running backs left, and we've been talking for 19 minutes about Dynasty running backs. I say let's give this a little bit of a speed up here.
We are the best.
Because I think people are probably vomiting profusely all over themselves.
Well, let me just tell you, I think I gagged 5 times, and then I threw up an additional 3 to 4 times when I was doing these rankings. But in the D tier, it got really bad by the D tier too. Yeah. Montgomery, Ramondre, Spears, and Pacheco. These are all guys where, honestly, long-term, we have no idea where they're going to end up. Montgomery is actually the safest of these guys because he has a contract.
Yeah.
We just know that his ceiling is always going to be capped because he's playing alongside Gibbs, just like we know Gibbs' ceiling is capped because of David Montgomery. But we got to give him his respect. He's honestly one of the better running back values in Dynasty right now, where you can get him for very, very cheap. People are very low on him, and he scores you points. Ramondre Stevenson, where's he going to end up next season? I don't know.
Who knows?
No idea.
Who will be his coach?
I don't know.
Because this is something I was thinking about the other day, and it's fun to imagine this. Imagine New England without Bill Belichick. I mean, from a fantasy perspective,
maybe he could increase in value.
Just think about it. They'd be a completely different team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
like, you're not avoiding every asset there.
Yeah, which is really nice. You're just avoiding every asset that Bill Belichick ends up going to, which is probably maybe Washington. We'll see. Ramondre, RB20 on the season, yards per attempt, rushing yards per game, receptions per game, and receiving yards per game are all down. Yards per reception is the only thing going slightly up. Who could have predicted this? I don't know. Not us. It was us. Tyjae Spears is averaging 5 yards per carry right now, had 33 receptions, which is tied for 15th best in the NFL, despite playing for the Titans' horrible offense and being the backup to Derrick Henry. Got to give him his respect. Derrick Henry is not on the Titans next year. He's out of there. He's gone. I don't think the Titans are going to draft another running back. I think they're going to ride with Spears for the next couple of years, and he is electric every time he touches the ball. Isaiah Pacheco, playing on the Kansas City Chiefs. What's that ceiling for him? Not super duper high. This year, it's higher than it probably will be for years to come, but he's been very productive. RB9 on the season, 33 catches on the season as well, and only 13 last season. So he's increased his receiving usage, which is a trend that we saw continued from last season's Super Bowl run, and I'm excited to see what he does in the future.
I'm very confident. I'm going to move Pacheco to the front of that tier. So yeah,
all right.
I would take Pacheco over those guys pretty easily. Spears, maybe you could make an. Actually, you know what? Man, I don't. I now that I'm looking at this, I think I would do.
We're calling an audible.
I think it would be Pacheco, Spears, Monty, and Ramondre.
I still like Monty quite a bit
over Spears.
Yeah, because Monty is the only guy that's like guaranteed.
Yeah, that's true. But the same tier, so.
Yeah, right.
The F tier.
So what's our final deal there in the D tier?
Well, we can just leave it if you want to.
Pacheco, Montgomery, Ramondre, Spears.
Well, I think we both agree we'd take Spears over Ramondre, so we can move that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. The F tier. F should be for failure or
Tony Pollard.
Well, and I did move Tony Pollard over Eckler because Tony Pollard scored more points. It's that easy.
Oh, yeah.
So Pollard, this year he's the running back 10 on the season. Of course he is. He was just like the running back 20.
Yeah, he's also like 5 points away from being the RB 50. So just saying, like
he's been a massive disappointment based on what his price was this year. He was a locked in, guaranteed running back 5, and now he's lost a ton of dynasty value because
at least 3 rounds.
He doesn't really. He's tagged, right? He doesn't have any contract insulation.
No contract insulation.
He's 7th in touches, 6th in running back reception. So you have to put that in there. But he's, 27 now. Guys, Eckler, lowest yards per carry of his career, lowest rushing yards per game since 2019, lowest receptions per game, lowest receiving yards per game since 2018. Eckler's looked bad. He's barely in this list. B-Rob is B-Rob. He's the running back 7 on the season, but it's kind of hilarious because he's not been that good. He only has 29 reception. Well, I say only. He only had 9 last year. 29, but it's a lot less given that they are one of the highest passing volume teams in the league.
Yeah.
And Antonio Gibson takes a ton of that from him.
There's going to be a ton of turnover in Washington over the next couple of years as well, so I'm not confident in B-Rob keeping this up at all. Our last tier here, our final tier for you guys is going to be Zach Charbonnet, James Cook, Jalen Warren, Roschon Johnson, and we had to put Nick Chubb on here because we're still a believer in him making a comeback, hopefully. And he still has, I think, a year or 2 left on his deal. In the 3 games that Walker left early or missed the game, Charbonnet had a ton of volume. 16 carries, 3.6 catches on 4 targets per game, only 150 rushing yards and 72 receiving yards combined, and only 1 touchdown in those games, which was super unfortunate. But Seattle has been kind of iffy last month anyways. Those games were against 3 top 3 run defenses, though, so that's impressive for him. The reason he's all the way down to the G tier is he's playing alongside Kenneth Walker, and I think they just want to have a committee backfield for the rest of eternity. And it sucks because if Charbonnet were on any other team, he'd be 3 or 4 tiers higher than this.
That's the reason he's there.
The Weason. Did I say the Weason?
Yep.
Oh, man.
That one's funny.
Oh, boy. And then James Cook. We have him on here just because
Bills running back 1.
He's relatively safe, and he's a Bills running back 1, and he has receiving upside playing with one of the most pass-happy quarterbacks in the NFL.
Not check down happy, though.
Yeah.
Jalen Warren is on here because he's averaging 5.9 yards per carry. He's 7th in the NFL in receptions, but he's only a part-time player. He's only averaging 8 carries per game-ish. And honestly, Najee Harris isn't on this list. What does it tell you? We think Warren is the running back down there. We're not investing in Najee. Roschon Johnson has started to get some good volume now. We still believe heavily in him. And then Nick Chubb, who still has better contract insulation than like 90% of the guys on this list, which is hilarious because he just like annihilated his leg.
That's hilarious.
Guys, that was disgusting. If you're watching, I'm just looking at the clock going to 25 minutes. If you're watching, comment below. Like, I might send you a prize or something for getting through this video. This was disgusting. If you disagree, I probably agree with you. Like, that's how gross it is. I think anybody could rank these 24 any way they wanted to, and I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. Appreciate you guys watching. Drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe if you don't. If you do play Dynasty football, not don't play Dynasty football. We play Dynasty. I'm really grossed out by this video.
Yeah.
All right, we'll end this vomit show. See you guys.